Bonjour, bienvenue, welcome. My name is Alexandra Beucler. I am a proud member of the Viking family. I work in the brand and communications department in Los Angeles, California. Paris is my hometown. I was born and raised in France. Paris is an extraordinary city. I love spending time in so many different places when I'm there. My definite favorite thing to do when I travel is going to local markets. I enjoy going to various specialty shops and walking along farmers market. I like discovering new ingredients, cooking new recipes, and of course being with my friends and family around a beautifully dressed table and excellent wine pairing. In Paris, I'm particularly fond of La Grande Épicerie du Bon Marché. Saint-Germain is by far my favorite area of Paris. I went to school there. I always feel at home simply being at a terrace drinking coffee, having croissant and reading the newspaper. I know, very stereotypical of a French person, but it is truly enjoyable. I especially enjoy eating soufflé when I am in my hometown. It is on the menu of many Parisian brasseries. There is even a restaurant that is named Le Soufflé in Paris. It is such a staple of French cuisine. The French take their meals very seriously. They are meant to be enjoyed with friends and family. And I brought that culture back with me in Los Angeles. I always enjoy making dinner for my family and my friends. French cuisine is very diverse. From elaborated culinary techniques to street food, it is very much part of the cultural identity of French citizens. Viking has 6 French river itineraries. No matter which one you are on, you will always enjoy delicious regional French food and wines on board. French cuisine can be traced since the Middle Ages. It has made its mark on the international map as a significant art form during the Siècle des Lumières. The Century of Enlightenment, or Siècle des Lumières as it was known in France, was an intellectual, cultural, literary and philosophical movement in Europe during the 17th and 18th century, meant to enlighten people from ignorance. And the key Enlightenment ideas were reason, evidence of the senses, individual liberty, religious tolerance, fraternity, separation of church and state. Also, at this time, haute cuisine, or high cuisine, was gaining popularity in France. Haute cuisine reflected the political and social changes of the previous century. Think of the royal families. Louis XIV, the Sun King, followed by Louis XV, the Beloved, residing at the Palace of Versailles, which is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The opulence of haute cuisine paved the way for the invention of the soufflé. The soufflé was first invented somewhere around mid-1700s. There is some debate around exactly who invented the soufflé. Some attribute it to French master chef Vincent Lachapelle, author of several cookbooks, including Le Cuisinier Moderne, which he dedicated to William IV, Prince of Orange-Nassau of the Netherlands, one of his many royal employers. Others attribute it to Antoine Beauvillier, who served several soufflés on his menu in Paris' first high-end restaurant, Grande Taverne de Londres, in 1783. Others say the dish became popular in France in the early 19th century thanks to Marie-Antoine Carême, the first so-called celebrity chef in 1820. He prepared the dish for wealthy families in Paris benefiting from new oven technology of the day, heating by air drafts rather than coal. By 1961, Julia Child introduced both sweet and savory soufflé to an American audience through her book, Mastering the Art of French Cooking, one of my favorite books. She called the soufflé the epitome and triumph of the art of French cookery. Beginning in the 1960s, soufflés were served in upscale American restaurants. Today, some of the best soufflés in the US can be found on the East Coast. For example, La Grenouille or Amélie in New York City. Soufflé is a classic French baked dish using both egg yolks and egg white. The latter gives the soufflé its lift and lightness. The word soufflé comes from the French verb souffler, which means puff. So a soufflé is a giant puff. Soufflé can be a side dish, a main dish, or a decadent dessert. Soufflés come in both sweet and savory varieties. Today, I am going to make a flourless cheese soufflé and a flourless chocolate soufflé. Aside from the cheese and chocolate, there is no difference between the cheese soufflé and chocolate soufflé. The rest of the ingredients are identical. To make a soufflé, traditionally you make a bechamel sauce. Some of my family members are gluten-free, so I had to adapt and make my own version without using flour. Because the technique of a perfect soufflé relies greatly on a perfectly puffed result, I like to ensure I buy the very fresh ingredients. If you have access to farm eggs, this is the best option. Otherwise, you can use pasture-raised eggs or cage-free eggs. France is renowned for the range and quality of its cheeses. More than 300 varieties are recognized. You can use any combination of hard cheese for your soufflé depending on what you can source. Today, I have a combination of Parmesan cheese, sharp cheddar, and Gruyere cheese. I like to buy blocks and shred the cheese myself. I found it makes a difference in the finished texture. In soufflé, you can add freshly grated nutmeg. It adds a very subtle flavor to the overall aroma. Chocolate soufflé can also be adapted to gluten-free. The recipe I will prepare today is gluten-free. You may use semi-sweet chocolate, finely chopped, or semi-sweet chocolate chips, depending on what you have on hand. Dark chocolate also works well for a richer result. For denser, more pure chocolate flavor, or to control the amount of sugar, you can begin with bittersweet chocolate, and that is what I will use today. A perfect soufflé is moist, steamy, and puffed. The texture should be like a little cloud. What I'm trying to accomplish today is a soufflé that will engage all your senses. It will look puffed. It will have risen to its maximum capacity. The aroma and tastes are rich, strong, heavenly. The soufflé is rich in flavor and light in texture. I will start with the cheese soufflé. We will make 4. It's important to have your mise en place ready, which means you need to prepare all the ingredients ahead of time and set them out on your counter, so you don't start your recipe and realize halfway that you are missing an ingredient in the middle of the preparation. This has happened to me in the past. Preheat your oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. First, start by grating your cheese and measure about a cup. You want to start with making the cream base mixture because it needs to cool down before you incorporate it with the eggs. While the cream mixture is cooking, you can butter the ramekins. Be generous with butter on the side so it can rise easily. Then you need to place the ramekins in the refrigerator so the butter solidifies before you pour in the soufflé mixture. When the cream is coming to a boil, you can add the grated cheese, remove from heat, and then stir it until all the cheese is melted. While it cools down, you can separate the egg yolk from the egg whites. A key to successful soufflé is a risen soufflé. So you want to beat the egg white to a soft peak, but don't overbeat them. We are not making dry meringue today. You don't want the sauce to be too hot, so it has cooled down a little bit, because otherwise it will cook the egg yolk, and that's not what you want. When your cheesy mixture is cooled down, add freshly ground peppercorn. I like to use white peppercorn for cheese soufflé. And add grated nutmeg. Mix it really well with the egg yolk, then fold in the beaten egg white. This is ready to transfer into ramekins. Add some grated cheese on the top. Add some hot water in the pan so the bottom doesn't burn and it creates moisture in the oven. Bake in the oven for 20 minutes, but actively monitor it. I love to watch soufflé rise. It always makes me happy. Remove from the oven, plate, and voila! Now a dessert, chocolate soufflé. Preheat your oven at 400 degrees. Measure about a quarter cup of cream. Bring to a boil. You want to start with making the cream-based mixture because it needs to cool down before you incorporate the eggs. While the cream mixture is cooking, you can butter the ramekins. Again, be very generous with the butter on the side so it can rise easily. Then you place the ramekin in the refrigerator so the butter solidifies before you pour the soufflé mixture in them. When the cream comes to a boil, you can add your chocolate and remove from heat. Mix well so that the chocolate melts well. You can transfer it into a different dish so it cools faster. While it cools, you can separate the egg yolk from the egg whites. When your chocolate mixture is cooled down, incorporate it with the egg yolk. Then fold in the beaten egg white. Now we're ready to transfer into the ramekin. Add some hot water in the bottom of the pan so it doesn't burn and it creates a nice moisture in the oven. Bake in the oven for 20 minutes and watch it regularly. Remove from the oven. Garnish with a few raspberries, powdered sugar, and voila! Thank you for watching this episode of Viking.TV. Happy cooking! Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Making Soufflé. I hope to see you on one of our Viking cruises in France someday in the very near future. I now leave you with Corinna Hagen, who will take you to some very special places in France, including hunting truffle with Fincé.
In the heart of Libourne is Place Abel-sur-Champ.
Bonjour chef, ça va?
Today I'm exploring its market with Viking chef Magali. This local farmers market has been a fixture in Libourne since the 13th century, and it continues to delight.
This is something I used to do since I'm really young. We're going almost every day to the market.
Good food has long been a cornerstone of French culture, and at markets like these you can experience that passion firsthand.
We buy everything seasonal and local. With this kind of fruits, it's impossible not to eat.
Viking shops here too. It's part of the freshness our guests taste on board our ships. The market is home to a wonderful tapestry of colours, smells, and some of the friendliest faces I've seen. It's a true feast for all your senses that's certain to please.
Oh, that's a good carrot.
The Libourne Farmers Market offers a quintessentially French experience, keeping age-old traditions alive. We look forward to seeing you soon and sharing with you all the best of this part of France. Hidden within these woods is a rare treasure. Nestled in the warm forest floor. Prized by many, but found by few. I'm speaking of truffles, and this is the hunter.
Cherche, Farah, cherche. Elle est où là? Cherche.
For centuries, they've scoured the woodlands for the elusive truffle, the highly fragrant subterranean fungus loved by chefs around the world. This used to be the job of pigs, but they also like to eat the truffles, so dogs have taken their place.
Et est-ce que c'est difficile de dresser un chien pour chercher les truffes?
Vous allez chez un photographe, vous demandez 2 boîtes de pellicule photo.
I'm asking if it's difficult to train your dog to find truffles. He says no. Go to your photographer and see if he has old cans that stored film.
Percez les boîtes de pellicule,
Pierce the film box.
vous mettez du coton,
Put cotton wool inside.
de l'huile truffée.
A little bit of truffle oil on the cotton.
Avec vous, vous avez un petit panier,
Put them in a little basket like this.
vous avez des récompenses
Have treats.
et vous allez jeter la boîte de pellicule photo.
And every time you throw the toy away, you tell your dog to find the truffle.
Chaque fois qu'il a pris,
Every time that he
What?
takes the film can, you take it from him and you give him a treat.
2e semaine, coton, oil, vous fermez et vous allez le mettre sous le tapis. Vous allez jouer à cache-cache.
So the second week, you're playing hide and seek. You're going to refresh those containers, those film containers, with new cotton wool, new truffle oil, and you're going to hide them in your house somewhere.
Et chaque fois qu'il trouve, vous payez. C'est bien mon bébé, t'es un bon chien, toujours avec les trucs.
Same procedure. You ask her to find the box. When she finds it, you give him a treat. Then
Vous allez dehors,
you go outside
sans le chien,
without the dogs,
en cachette, vous creusez
And you hide
et vous
these
mettez dans la terre,
little
la
boxes
boîte film.
in the ground.
Et vous allez avec le chien 2 jours après. Comme ça, la terre, elle a
Okay.
pris l'odeur de truffle.
It takes 2 days or so to infuse the soil around the cans with this truffle oil. So after 2 days of these being buried, you go back out.
Vous prenez le panier,
Of course, you take a little basket.
vous l'excitez,
You excite your dog a little
il
bit.
voit les
You
récompenses.
show the treats.
Vous allez à côté de ça, là où vous savez que vous avez caché la boîte de
You go
pellicule.
close to where you know you've hidden these little
Vous
boxes.
l'excitez. Si le chien, il marque, vous le prenez dans les bras. Beaucoup de récompenses, c'est très bien. Vous avez gagné.
If then, of course, the dog starts digging in that area, you give him lots of compliments and treats, and that's it, you've done it. From then on, he can find truffles.
I've been teaching my dog Finse to truffle hunt too, carrying on this old European tradition. It's fun whether you find a truffle or not.